And we're live. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see we've got 8 people watching already tonight. I have been working on a few things for tonight's stream. Got a little derailed due to a back and forth with a viewer that was having issues with some Proxmox stuff. So didn't get exactly where I wanted to be, but I've still got a couple of interesting things to cover tonight. So, how's everybody doing tonight? We'll hang out for a few minutes and then I will get into the meat and potatoes of the stream in about 5 minutes. This is something a little different for me, trying a little more structure with the live stream. We'll see how it works out, but yeah, trying to take some suggestions that were made to me and see what's what. So, unfortunately, Terrell, no coffee tonight. I did just have dinner prior to this. About 40 minutes ago, I had dinner, but a little later than I wanted. But sometimes happens when you get derailed on a tangent project. Let's see, David, welcome in, and David Grishko, welcome again. The music was intense. Well, it's something different. Out of the provided tracks that I know are okay to use for streaming, that was probably my favorite of those tracks that they gave us. So far, so good on the internet. I'm still happy with it. Um, Camera shot looks brighter. Well, I haven't adjusted the lighting unless there's an angle change, a slight angle change on the one light. Um, Probably more reflection off my bald head, honestly, because I took a razor to it this morning in the shower. Have to finish my granddaughter's PC tomorrow morning. She was not up to it last couple of days. All right. I'm looking forward to the rest of that video. Her comments in that video were so cute. And props to you for not getting frustrated with her trying to walk her through that process. So what was for dinner? I was a little bad. I made hamburger helper tonight. I made hamburger helper. Not great, but eh. I didn't have much else in the apartment, and I wasn't feeling ramen tonight. Let's see. The beginning of the music reminded me of the theme to Knight Rider. Yeah. It reminds me of some of the music in the movie Hackers from back in 1995. One of the scenes they had some music that was similar, very techno house music type. I don't know exactly how you would classify the music from the movie Hackers. Very 90s, shall we say, in any event. Sounds better than ramen. Tested everything that would go into her PC today, even the ARGB fans, trying to avoid any problem during part 2 of that build. Very nice. I have the Hackers soundtrack on CD. I have yet to acquire that. My understanding is there is more than one CD of music, or maybe the second one is music inspired by Hackers. All right, so I am going to roll my little transition thing here, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes. Here we go. All right, tonight we are going to talk about a few things. First, I want to look at a comment left to me by a person that is actually running an IT security class of some variety, and see if anybody has any ideas on a solution for that, because I'm coming up blank, and he's kind of in a pinch. I'm assuming it's a he. Kind of in a pinch at the moment because this class starts on Tuesday. So let's jump over to the screen, and we will take a look at this for a few minutes. So what he was trying to do, and I guess I should go out here to, oops, don't want to do that. I should go out here to the website. So this person was trying to use from vulnhub.com Metasploitable. Now, I want to point out, I'll make this a little bit bigger. I want to point out one thing right off the bat that's probably at the heart of the problem. Metasploit 1 is from May of 2010, and Metasploitable 2 is from June of 2012. And let's see if we can find out a little bit more information in the details section. So This indicates in the description, Metasploitable is an Ubuntu 8.04 server install, and we are a month and a half away from 24.04, mind you. So it's an 8.04 server install on a VMware 6.5 image. Again, that's an old version of VMware. A number of vulnerable packages included, blah, blah, blah. You can use most VMware products to run it, and you'll want to make sure it's configured for host-only networking unless it's in your lab. And here is the source. So we'll see what this has to say if it loads. Okay. Metasploitable 804. And they do tell you to use host-only networking because it is a vulnerable machine. So it does not, however, tell you much about configuration of this machine. Let's see README if that tells us anything. Okay, so that gives us exploits and different things. And I think just the age of this is playing against this person's interests for using this in their class. In an ideal situation, I would say, yeah, great idea. In the real world, it's been almost 14 years since Metasploitable 1 came out, and obviously there have been changes in both Ubuntu and in the virtualization platforms between then and now. So what are the alternatives? Well, there's Metasploitable 3. So, can we find Metasploitable 3? And this is from the Rapid7 GitHub. And even this, 7 and 8 years ago, it's more recent than 14, of course, but what do we have here? Metasploitable 3 is a VM that is built from the ground up with a large amount of security vulnerabilities intended for testing with Metasploit. So this gives instructions for building Metasploitable 3. So it's not just a downloadable VM, it appears. And this is based on Windows Server 2008 instead. So again, this could be a challenge for this person to get running between now and Tuesday. And so yeah, this is going to be a challenge. I'm not sure I've got enough time between now and his deadline of Tuesday to build something that works. And if I did, I would likely want to charge for the work involved to some extent, or at least get some attribution for my involvement in this project. Less than ideal all the way around. If I had a week to work on this in my spare time, then it might have been a possibility. Unfortunately, I'm coming into this too late to the game to feel like I can get this running between now and then. So let's bring me back on screen. So what process did I use for testing all this? Well, I did in fact try to, I downloaded both Metasploitable 1 and 2 to one of my Proxmox servers. I extracted the files and tried importing the VMDK file, which is the disk file, the virtual disk file, to a new VM. And it complained, and let me see if I can pull up my other window. I can tell you what the message was because I was in the process of writing a response before this live stream started. So when I tried Metasploitable 1, I got the error message, non-existent or non-regular file. And my best guess, without having done too much research on this, is that there's some issue with that disk file, and it could be just a matter of a format change between, the 14 years since that was first released. So I'm left scratching my head on this one. So at this point, I don't know really what to tell him. I'm going to tell him what I've tried and how it's failed each time. I even went so far as trying to import it into VirtualBox on my Windows machine, and that failed with a different error, of course. But again, there have been quite a lot of changes with VirtualBox in the last 14 years. So, probably not the best approach to try to use these old versions of Metasploitable. Now, I am aware of several options that are web-based, or at least available through their respective websites, Hack the Box and other various things that could potentially be used in a structured class situation. However, I'm not sure how much leeway this person has for curriculum changes at this point, since the class is starting in a couple of days. So, unfortunately, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to help him. The best I'm going to be able to do is to try to point him at some other resources that may have some other suggestions that might make this work. However, since downloading ESXi is no longer really an option, that goes out the window. Unless he's got an old copy of ESXi laying around. And I'm not sure I even have an old copy of ESXi laying around. Another option, which I haven't explored yet, would be to try it in VMware Player. But again, I'm not convinced that that's going to work any better. So if I have some time before Tuesday, I may give that a run, or at least put that in my response and make the suggestion to him. Again, I'm assuming it's a him. So let's jump over to chat and see what's going on there, and then we'll move on to the next topic. See how this goes tonight. Oh, let's see. Too old to be meaningful today. Yes, I tend to agree. There are better ways, I believe, to approach the problem of training students for security testing. I understand that this would be like a first step in a lab environment to getting them exposure to walking through how to exploit something. But at the same time, hack the box and other things. If the instructor wants to use something like that, they can go through the step by step process and still illustrate the same concepts, in my opinion. Yes, very old. And Ezra's here. Welcome. Um, I didn't catch what the issue was. The comment is the issue that this is too old and they were looking for something new. No, David, they're actually trying to get this to run and they were running into errors trying to get it into Proxmox. I did try it on Proxmox and I verified yes, there are issues. I tried it in VirtualBox and verified yes, there are issues. It's just one of those things, and I tend not to spend a huge amount of time on people's questions, especially if they're not members or at least regular participants in my on my channel, leaving comments, participating in streams. Usually if I've got a question, I'll spend 10 minutes or less on it, try to point them to a resource and move on because I've got stuff to do. There are a few times that I make an exception to that rule, but yeah. I doubt even 30-day-old exploits have any measurable value. Yeah, I mean, I think the point this person is trying to get to though is that there's a process involved, and if they have a system that has known exploits, they can walk students step by step through a process. And while the exploit might change, the thought process and approach is going to be similar between exploits. Yeah, it's hands-on for students. Yes, pretty much. Modern exploitable VM. So I'm not a fan of security penetration testing. It may sound nice to some on a resume, knowing the details of history, but useless otherwise. That's fair. Yeah, hack the box definitely is one that came to mind. I've lost count of the number of so-called security professionals I've given a thumbs down to in an interview when they only talk pen testing. Right. Absolutely. Let's see. You can probably use QEMU image to convert that. That's a possibility. I did not try that method, but since it didn't work in VirtualBox, I have less confidence that that option is going to work either. I feel like this is not something you should be resolving. A person is asking for free consulting. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm not spending a huge amount of time on it. It was sort of a curiosity of mine, given the dates that I saw on these VMs. Beyond that, they need to come up with another plan to teach their class. Is where I'm at with it. I have issues in my life I'd like you to resolve if you're doing this pro bono. Right, Joe. On my soapbox. So, system security is all about limiting external access, admin privileges, and good OS housekeeping. Yes, that's absolutely true. Law of least privilege. All right. Can't you just install an old version of Linux and install a bunch of software? If the repositories were still active, that may in fact work to simulate something close to Metasploitable. That's I'm not 100% sure. I walked out of a cybersecurity 3-day class after 2 hours when the instructor only wanted to talk about pen testing. Yeah, what about methodology? Okay, so let's keep going through this. Welcome, Jacob. I told the instructor the class was useless to modern security system, and I told my management I will not waste my time for a useless certificate. Very cool. And yes, as Joe says, won't matter in 102 days. Okay, so what else? What else? What else? All right. So let's take a look at the whiteboard for a minute. Mr. Joe, aka Tech for Fun, wanted to see, I'm not sure which Proxmox node I put the image on, so give me just a moment. Oh, that's right. That was the one that had the issue. Let me grab that from my local machine. So I went to research and get prepped for doing a demo of Porteous Kiosk tonight. And when I went to download it directly on Proxmox, I encountered an issue. And the issue indicated that the certificate on the Porteous website had expired. So it wouldn't let me download the ISO image directly. Luckily, on my computer, just using my browser, I was able to successfully download the ISO image. So, in this next section, we're going to go through installing Porteous Kiosk in a VM, just so people can see the process that's involved. And again, I'm going to preface this by saying that the big difference is between the VM and the physical machine is how you go about setting up before you boot the machine. Once you start the boot process from the ISO, there's not much difference between booting from an ISO file or an ISO on a USB stick. So we will change back over to the screen and look at Proxmox and see about going through this process. All right. We're going to create a new VM in Proxmox. And we're just going to call this Porteous Kiosk. We're going to grab the ISO image. And we're going to give it a little breathing space, so 50 gigs of space. We'll give it 2 cores and 4 gigs of RAM. Bridge networking is fine. And start after created. And there's our new VM. And so the first thing this is going to do, it's going to boot into an installation wizard. And in this case, we are connected through the virtual machine to Ethernet. So we're going to use that. We want DHCP. And no proxy. So we're just going to click next. And it gives you a choice of browser. Now, I will say that generally, it doesn't make a lot of difference. However, for some of the things that I wanted to do with the kiosk that I've set up, I have used Firefox. Your mileage may vary. You may want to use Chrome. My advice is to test the system out. Maybe set up a VM, one with each browser, and test the websites you're going to allow in and make a decision based on your testing. And set the time. And it is the 18th. And $22, 16 or 15 is close enough. Apply. Next. And we'll let it go through, and it finally established a connection, which is what we want. And it's going to start downloading Firefox. All right, so this is where the fun part comes in, especially if you're using a paid version of this, or you've got their server set up. So in this case, we are going to just use the launch kiosk wizard to create a new configuration. One thing that I think could be improved with this is that this wizard has a never-ending scrolling single panel. I'm sure there are some reasons that they made this decision, but I think this could be done differently. Remote kiosk management is disabled. Server is disabled, so we can close these sections as we go through. Enable the firewall. I do want ICMP enabled so I can at least ping the thing to make sure it's on. Everything else, let's just leave disabled for the demo anyways. Homepage. So let's do, I don't know. We'll pick on Joe and Ashley. Do that. I'm sure that's going to work. I'm not going to test it. You can filter URLs. They have not changed the terminology to allow list and block list, but hopefully in the next version they will update that. Private mode. So it disables search history. Search engine, you've got your choice of Google or DuckDuckGo. And managed bookmarks is disabled. Additional SSL certs is disabled. Pop-up windows. We'll enable that. They'll open in a new tab. Disable Zoom controls. We actually want to disable that option, which has the effect of enabling Zoom controls. Browser zoom level. We can set that to enable. And we'll just say 1.7 just for the sake of argument. User agent, you can change what browser it's going to show up as. File browsing is disabled. And I think the rest of this I can just go through. Virtual keyboard is disabled. Background wallpaper, session idle. Restart or lock the session after a specified time of activity. Persistence, swap file, ZRAM, I will enable that. So we'll say, we'll give it 20%. Removable devices disabled. Time zone. We can set this. And I think everything else. The one other thing I did at the library was to use the large mouse cursor size and to speed up the mouse just a little bit. But as you can see, there are quite an extensive number of options here. And I will say, don't expect to get this right the first time through. You're probably going to want to do this multiple times to get it right. So that's just based on my experience. And I think we are almost to the bottom. We are to the bottom. So now we can just go next. It's going to tell us the settings that we've selected. Next again. And this is where you can get the free trial. So you get all their automatic update services. Or you can just leave it on disabled, which I'm going to do for this demo. And we are, in fact, going to go to the QEMU disk and install system, proceed. And this process takes not a huge amount of time. And we should, hopefully we don't boot back into the installer. There's the larger mouse pointer. And it does, in fact, or at least it's trying to load Capture the Concept, because they're being my guinea pig tonight. So probably not the best screen resolution for this website, but it works in a pinch for a demo, and hey, little free advertising, right? So that is just a quick run through of installing Porteous Kiosk. Of course, if you're going to use this in any sort of production environment, I would absolutely suggest going through the manual and familiarizing yourself with the different settings, and maybe spending a little more time than I did going through this. Again, this is just a quick and dirty example of what this can do. So let's jump over to chat and see where everybody is at and if there are questions. I'll bring myself up that way. Let's see. The problem with allow list is that a lot of websites pull from multiple domains. How does Porteous Kiosk deal with that? That's an excellent question. I have not explored that too much. I have found that for the kiosk I've got set up at the library, when I allowed our library catalog system and a couple of other websites, in the first week or two of having the kiosk live, I did have to go back and reinstall because there were a couple of additional websites that I missed on the first time through. And so as I went through and did the second install, and then there's been another install I did just to upgrade it, I have continued to document what we needed allowed. And in a situation where you had more than one kiosk, you would want to use their kiosk server so that you could push updates live to these kiosk systems. Since I am just using a single kiosk, I have not gone down that road yet, but it's something I am considering, especially to plan better for what we're going to have after the renovation project, provided our bond goes through in August. Let's see, a lot of talking back and forth between people in chat, which is great. Is a low resolution because it's a VM? Yes, that's most likely, and I don't think I bothered to change the resolution in the setup wizard either. So it could partially be my fault, but part of it is at least the VM. It does not force a low resolution on a real machine. I can attest to that. Yes, Joe. The standalone version is a little fiddly. If you are using their server product, which I can just grab an image of that as well, I guess, while we're here tonight. The server product will let you do a lot of the configuration from the server, and then when you're going through the setup, you just point the setup wizard to the server that's already live, and they will talk to each other, and you don't have to go through this process. Which again is ideal if you're using more than one kiosk. So I've played briefly with their server product, but I've not spent a lot of time with it. So is there a way to add URLs after the fact? Yeah, the server. All right. Let's see. A reinstall each time seems a bit much. Yes and no. Library budgets are tight. I believe. Let's jump out to their website. Let's jump out to their website and take a look. So take a look at this. So the reason I haven't gone down the server route is I think let's see. The basic server gets you the administration panel, unlimited clients. You can monitor kiosks online and display details of the system. But to get all the other features, look at all those red X's, you're going to pay 300 euros a year. I'm hoping, given the dumpster fire, and I'm going to keep using that term, the dumpster fire that Broadcom has turned VMware into, that maybe we'll see QEMU guest editions supported at some point, so that it could be used on Proxmox and take full advantage. But this is where we're at. This is what the free server product with all the X's allows. So it is what it is. But again, for my particular solution to a problem, this was a good fit for us at the library. So, hope that answers the question. Yeah, no. I'm well below market at this point in my life. Um, yeah. I can't even fathom the amount of money I've spent, or the amount of money I've saved the library by being able to uh, run Ethernet cabling in a pinch, to be able to build custom length cables. I did finally get them to buy a set of tools, so I'm not having to take my own personal tools into the library. Finally, but yeah, I'm not at market by any stretch of the imagination. So that's why I'm trying to wrap my head around the job market as it exists today. I'm not real optimistic about the way it looks, but hopefully that'll improve, and I might be able to make a at least a lateral move into a similar job that pays more, if not into something that better fits my skill set, lets me be the Linux guru in somebody's mind. It might just be in a manager's mind, but I'm not convinced I've reached guru status yet. I don't have the beard for it. If I had a bushy beard, then a Richard Stallman beard, then maybe I would accept being called a guru. But I'm not there yet, at least in my own head. I've had to work with tight budgets at church, and sometimes have to resort to making things that I probably only know how to manage it. Yeah. I also have this issue at the library that there was practically no documentation when I walked into this job. I've written over 30 pages, going on 40 pages of documentation, and I still have a 2-page bulleted list of topics that I need to write. A few I need to update because of changing ISPs and other vendors. So, I mean, as long as I stay at the library, I've got some job security, because right now there are things that I'm the only one that knows about it, and or because of some of the setup processes, some of them are tied to the Authenticator app on my phone, and that's not ideal. But they don't provide me with a phone issued by the library, so I had no choice at the time but to use the Authenticator app on my phone, for better or worse. But hopefully, I will be able to transition that at some point in time, or at least add a second user that can access said systems. And then, if I disappear from the environment for one reason or another, they have some ability to carry on in my absence. Yeah. I've been told 20 plus times today that was recorded, and they want Bitcoin to keep the footage private. What do I do? Okay. No clue on the Bitcoin thing. I don't really do Bitcoin. um, so the problem is that my idea of fair market and library world idea of fair market are two vastly different things. And yeah, until I leave the library world and go back into some sort of corporate situation, um, yeah, we're lucky to get a 3% raise a year, between 3 and 5. I was told I'm above market, and then found out that I am paid less than the former guy. Go figure. Yikes. Those scams are no joke. People unalive themselves over fake scams like that. I believe it. Usually get a list of people from a dump out there, then mass email till someone takes the bait. Yeah, I see stuff like that showing up in my spam folder every day, and I report it as phishing generally to the Google. Not that it's going to do any good, but just trying to do some due diligence with it. At this point in time, yeah, since nobody wants to seem to read the documentation I've written, or I don't know, when I add my boss to the PC management system, and they need to log in and set a password, they don't bother to do so. It makes it a challenge, and yeah, if something came along that was going to double my salary, I would walk away tomorrow. In all honesty. You think about them succeeding, but I have my doubt they reciprocate for some reason. No argument. No argument whatsoever. 3% raises, we only get 2%, but your base is probably quite a bit higher than mine. So I'm not going to talk numbers on a live stream, but if you wanna message me privately, I might give you a ballpark. Anyways, if the raise doesn't meet the cost of living, I would start to be confrontational. Yeah, I am getting to that point. I'm getting to that point because my current sweet deal on my living situation is not going to last forever. And yeah, um, I don't think they would respond well to me um, charging them 3 times my hourly rate as a consultant. Because if it was less than 3 times my hourly rate, my current hourly rate, I wouldn't even take their calls if I were no longer employed there. So, but yeah, um, it's one of those things. I was happy to be there, and I was happy they kept me employed and paid during the plague. But things are, I don't think they're where they should be. So time will tell. I'm actively looking, but My original plan was to relocate out of state, and given the events of this week with my 77-year-old father taking a fall, I'm not sure I want to entertain the idea of moving out of state. When the two other siblings I've got that are still here in Michigan, cannot be relied on to check on my father, or even talk to him on the phone on any regular basis. So that's of a high concern to me, and um, yeah, especially since his shower and laundry are in the basement. So I know he's going up and down stairs on a regular basis, and it may not be as much of an issue right now, but what happens in 3 years or 5 years? Am I going to have to be his caretaker and or have to live with him in order to facilitate not entertaining the thought of putting him in a home? And I don't want it to come to that, but it's a concern that is weighing on me in the back of my mind most days. So it is what it is. I probably should have seized an opportunity to move out of the state, but I didn't, and here I am. So, yeah. Raise? What is a raise? In this industry, people usually jump ship every 2 years to keep the paycheck at market value and adjusted for inflation, cost of living. Yeah. If I could find something that I could use my skill set for, then I would very much consider jumping so I could just do that. Have a better paycheck. My 74-year-old father fell again. Luckily, he didn't break anything. Yeah. My half-sister broke off contact with my parents, so I am all they have. Yeah, it's tough. And, I figure the next 5 years are going to be very telling on what's going to happen. But I want to have a plan in place, and that's why I'm taking steps now to make myself more marketable, like looking at going for some certifications. But that's something that may trickle into some of my videos as the year progresses. I'm trying to decide which certifications I'm most interested in going for, and then making a plan, buying the voucher, and setting a date so that I force myself to do it. I've left that concept the last 14 years, hence the BP issue. We are planning on building a house someday that has room for one of our parents because we know we will be taking care of them later in life. Yeah. Yep. I believe you could easily pass CISSP. I'd have to look at the requirements at this point. I'm out of the loop on some of this stuff. I was even looking at something like doing the Wireshark network analysis training and taking that certification. There are a few that I have been looking at as stepping stones to perhaps going the route of the CISSP one day. I just the fact of the matter is I'm 50. I need to put my foot on the accelerator and make things happen a little bit faster than what they have been. So, yeah. All right. Um, we wanted to talk about interesting things tonight. Um, Let me check something on my phone real quick because I don't have. I don't have a website in particular in front of me, but I should be able to get the IP address off my phone. Not exactly. Not exactly. Let's take a look here. That's not it. Give me just a moment. I may be able to find this. Okay, so it's 1 and 2. Okay, so let's bring these over here. And okay. That's fine. I don't need that website. All right, so let's come over here. All right, so all right, so next we're going to look at Volumio, which I talked about briefly yesterday, and I'll bring up the this is on my box that I set up specifically for this purpose. So I have the name in there. I just did an update yesterday, so there shouldn't be anything here. But what this gets me is the ability to play ripped audio on my stereo in the other room on the surround system. So I have I had DAW files set up on another machine, and I had the music libraries. There were 2 different discs in that machine, so I had 2 different libraries set up where I could access music. This one here is my big Synology NAS, and so I've got some music on that currently, but not all of it. This has different options available for playback. Music metadata discovery is turned on. You can have title connected. I've got it turned on, but it's not connected to anything. Channel art. You can change the size of the channel art. Maybe we want that to just be medium. We'll say save. Track numbers currently off. We can turn that on. And we should probably save that. And we've got sources visibility. So I've got Pandora enabled. The Sound Blaster Play 3 is my digital analog converter. It's an inexpensive DAC, but it was basically a purchase for a proof of concept to test this all out. Because if anybody has dipped their toe in the audiophile world, you can spend a bunch of money on a DAC. So just something to keep in mind that your mileage may vary, but most of the music I've got is 44 kilohertz. It's ripped from CDs. And so in my mind, it doesn't warrant a hugely expensive digital to analog converter. So this does a nice job of getting information about the band and the album. You can do favorites. You can add it to a playlist. You can put it to infinity play. Different artists here again. You can tweet the track if you still participate in the dumpster fire that is X. But I do have that ripped to FLAC at 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit. And for those not familiar with Head PE, I saw them live in, I think, 2000, shortly before this particular album was released. So I got a preview of several tracks on this album. You can have multiple devices set up, and you can do casting. You can group devices. So if you've got a Volumio device in two different rooms, then you could group them together and get sort of a poor man's Sonos effect, doing, that whole home audio thing. And there's all kinds of other options in here. I have not explored these a lot since I put in my lifetime key to unlock the system. But it was fun playing with it last night, having it hooked to the stereo. And yeah, Volumio is nice. I have been enjoying it. Still trying to relearn my way around it because it's been a while since I've played with it. So it's just one of those things. It takes a little time to get used to, and hopefully I will continue to play with this and potentially do a dedicated video just for Volumio. and maybe I'll go back through my setup process on that box I've got out in the other room and talk about that as I go through it. So, all right. So that's enough of Volumio. I'm going to leave this up and put myself on half the screen, and we'll take a look at chat and see what what's happening. So let's do this option. The hardest part is the network security topic, which you would blow away. You should blow away. Well, I would hope I'd want to do some serious review before I went into that exam. And correct me if I'm wrong, since you actually hold that designation. Don't you have to have a sponsor for being eligible to take that exam? I'm admittedly a little bit out of the loop. Um, the stuff I've been doing on a day to day is not quite at that level in my head, anyways. What is your dream job and what are the requirements? Then do those requirements. Yeah. Um, yeah. Either that or we add N2O to your YouTube channel. I'm not sure what N2O is. I say Jeremy should go for a principal cybersecurity engineer here in New York. That role earns 130K. Yeah, uh, that's an attractive number. Starting. And that is not in New York City, but upstate where things are sane. uh, we just hired one in Rockland County who could not do what Jeremy does. Uh, I I appreciate the compliment. I sometimes think people around me have more confidence in my skill set than I do, but I have also admitted publicly that I've got a bit of imposter syndrome, tendency to have imposter syndrome, I guess I should say, if that makes sense. The more I've talked to people about it, the more I find that that's more common than what people let on. And certainly it's something that doesn't ever get mentioned in educational situations. But then again, a lot of the students that I taught were very much overconfident, and I had to, in a as nice a way as possible, knock them down a couple of notches. So, I yeah, I did torture one group a little bit, um, but yeah, that's a story for another day. We'll potentially get into that. I'll have to dig out, see if I've still got some paperwork detailing what that lab scenario looked like. Sorry, Jeremy, I went into manager autopilot on that. That's all right. Um, maybe once your 102 days is up, maybe we get on the phone or a video call and uh, talk more in depth about some of these things. I would very much be interested in your assessment of where I feel I'm at and where others might feel that I'm at based on the amount of content I've published and some of the varying topics that I've gone through. Um, I just um, yeah. I guess one of the things I will admit I've struggled with is that I have not really had a lot of people around me in a similar industry that I could easily bounce ideas off from. And in some ways, I feel that has set me back because I end up having to spend more time researching things on my own to solve a problem. Yes, that makes me self sufficient, but it also slows me down and makes me on the surface look less productive than I am. So um, I don't know. It's both sides of a coin, I suppose. Um, Fun question for Jeremy: whose birthday is it today? Clues available. Chat gets involved after 3 goes. No internet initially. Today is the 18th of February. Um, hmm. I haven't a clue off the top of my head that whose birthday this is. I would sponsor you without hesitation. That's good to know. That's good to know. Um, I don't think I know anybody else directly that has that certification. So at least I've got uh, a sponsor earmarked. That's a step. That's a step. Um, I definitely feel like I'm going to have to do a good amount of review before I could take um, that exam. Oh, N2O nitrous oxide, right? There's always cloud. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of public cloud for all things. I've always considered myself more living in the hybrid world. You know, keep some things on site and use cloud sparingly in a way that you can have the most control over stuff. I guess. Um, yeah. Um, happy to help with those exams. Well, definitely worth talking about. I'm open to have some conversations with people, um, and I figure wherever I go, I can probably make more money than what I'm making now. Um, So, which means you know, if I can make more money, then I might actually be retired before I'm, you know, halfway in the grave. Um, but that's a whole other conversation. Probably have an ISSA chapter near you. Uh, Suggest looking into attending some of their meetings. They were behind creating the CISSP. Yeah, let's see. Grand Rapids is an hour away, or an hour and 10 minutes away. Detroit is an hour and a half away. They've got one in Lansing, apparently, which is 20 minutes away. That, I don't want to sign into Facebook. Their last post was October of 2018. That's not encouraging. Let's see what their website says. Having trouble finding that site. That's not encouraging either. So looks like I might be making a trip to a big city, or one big city or another, to get involved in that kind of thing. But yeah, I'll do some more sleuthing when I'm not live streaming. I suppose I can change back to this view. Correction, it's the 19th here in the UK. Time travel. 19th of February. 19th of February. I am not coming up with anything off the top of my bald head. I'll keep thinking on this. The insecurity of cloud is a couple of questions on the CISSP exam. Yeah, I when I was teaching, I had to teach an intro to cloud class, and very much stress the part in the book about public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. And that the cloud is nothing but somebody else's computer, in large part. But a lot of the technologies being used in the cloud, like Kubernetes, can be run on-prem. So you can have a lot of the advantages of cloud without renting somebody else's computer and paying a steep fee. So probably we'll be delving into Kubernetes a little bit, but not quite there yet. I got a book. So I'm at least familiarizing myself with the concepts. The insecurity is mostly human and not understanding. I've helped a number of coworkers through passing the CISSP and PC in computers. Or PE, not PC. ISSA usually meets once a month. They usually allow free membership for at least a month. I'll definitely be doing a little bit more digging. I am Azure certified, have yet to use it. Might be useful in the future. I have practically zero exposure to Azure. Yeah. I've read about it. I've even read white papers about it. And various articles, and yeah, I don't know. Something about my deep rooted distrust of Microsoft. Although the one thing I can say is that a lot of what's on Azure is Linux based, so that might be an in for me. People are always the weakest link. You're absolutely correct. You see, you know more than 90% of the security folks on the cloud. Well, hey. Azure, what's that? Kidding. A lot of questions on firewall and routers. That I might do okay on if it's not all like heavy Cisco based questions. I definitely have to review that. I admit to what was the name of that book I bought? Oh yes, it was called Cisco for the Desperate. Um, uh, yeah, my brain and Cisco do not walk hand in hand. Um, I think I talked about yesterday briefly that I the way my brain works, the Juniper syntax makes more sense to me for what it's worth. Um, but yeah, here 76 today, could be 75. Math's not 100%. Generally vendor agnostic. Okay. If it's more on a concept basis, I can probably get up to speed on any gaps fairly easy. I think I'll bring this up on screen just for the sake of argument. Um, what did they rename that to? Um, yeah, ACI IT Pro. Um, so I think um, I've had for a number of years a membership. It was originally called IT Pro TV. It's now ACI Learning. Um, but it seems like um, there's CISSP training. Well, it's the 2021 version. And the question is, have they updated the exam since then? Or will this get me 85% of the way to the new requirements? I guess that would be my big question here. That would be my big question. um, so, because right now, I don't have my wallet with me. Right now, the only certification that I have that's active, because I'm grandfathered into the old way of doing things on this one particular exam. I took the A plus exam in 2006 or 7, and that was still when they had lifetime certification for those. So I am still A plus certified, but um, yeah, I'm my Network Plus lapsed, and that's as far as I went with getting certifications. Um, my Apple Certified Associate, I don't think it's worth anything anymore because that's probably 8, 9 years old, and things have changed quite a bit since then. And then there was one other certification I had. It was a certification for Ubuntu server that I think the company that was behind the certification went defunct, and So when you go from my LinkedIn profile and try to see the certificate or verify it, you don't get to go anywhere. But it's one of those things. I'm I'm not opposed to doing a cert to be able to make a job change and get where I need to go. Um, I did do. I actually have it sitting on my desk. I have the Level 3 Limited Professional Certificate through the State of Michigan Department of Education. Uh, and so this is for the library world specifically. And that I completed in October of 2022. So I don't believe this expires. This is, of course, not worth anything outside library world, and certainly not worth anything outside the state of Michigan. Um, or worth anything at a library that serves more than 12,000 patrons, or a service area of 12,000 persons, to be more exact. Yeah. So it was a job requirement, but yeah, again, one of those things that it was sitting through some video training and answering some multiple choice questions, and that was that. Um, yeah, but it's got a signature from the library data coordinator from the state of Michigan. So let's see. My nephew got a job as a database admin and makes more than me straight out of college. Bugs me every time I think about it. Yeah. Um, when I was doing my internship, I worked with a guy who had he was I think he was a business information system major and an IT minor. But through the business college, he was able to get some certification in SAP. And like within a few weeks of graduating, he had gone out and either purchased or leased a pretty hot looking new car. So he must have been offered a pretty penny for what he was going to be doing. You do need to know the names of high profile security architectures. I think certs are overrated. That's actually where I've been at for quite a while, but at a certain point in a career, employees look at your experience. The problem is that my job experience, on the job experience, has not always aligned with what my training was for. And in order to get into those areas specifically, I would probably need to get a certificate, some sort of certification to make that pivot. But I've had a conversation this afternoon with my financial advisor, who's also been a longtime friend. And in the course of that conversation, we came up with a couple of key phrases, I guess, that I want to try to integrate into a new version of my resume, and put that out there and see if anybody bites. So Yeah. Certs are highly overrated in my field. Hell, even your education doesn't matter these days. I believe it. They live in the UK. Back into your hints. I've had my CISSP since 1999. My number is less than 5,000, and I believe it is currently up to about 200,000. Wow. I will never get another cert unless I want to learn something new and pivot what I work on. That's fair. And that's exactly the boat I'm in, is making a pivot and realigning with what I want to be working on. And really, I guess the point I'm at right now is I would like to be part of a team, a small-ish team of similarly minded tech people, so that I had somebody that I could bounce ideas off from on a daily basis, and not be constantly forced to dumb things down to even discuss what I want to talk about. CISSP has risen to the pinnacle of the cybersecurity certs. Security Q&A answers, air gap. Yep. Heavy renewal requirements, 120 CPEs of a 3-year period, with 80 of those directly related to computer security. However, it's doable with some focus. Also remove UI from user, hide keyboard. I need all 120 CPEs by May 31st, 2026 to retain my rating. At this point, I do not plan on doing that. Just a general question. Are libraries still pretty active with younger folk? Seems like everyone can just Google everything for research. So yeah, the library I'm at has a pretty good population of young people coming in. Some of them come in just to play games on the computer. I saw one that was trying to search for Cheech and Chong substance related information on Friday. Of course, it was blocked. We've got parental control software on the computers as mandated by the state. But yeah, I've done some outreach outside of the library to the teen center and talked about good Google searches and Google Scholar and what are known as Google Dorks. Basically filtering down your search results into usable or more usable results. And there are definitely a lot of things that people can research on their own. But we do have a small-ish population in our area that does not have internet access at home, either because they can't afford it or they are constantly checking out our hotspots from the library. But yeah, it's encouraging on a level that we get as many young people as we do in the library. And hopefully that will increase if we have more spaces that are available to use. Our renovation plan includes study spaces and different things of that nature that could be utilized by like middle school and high school students. So that would be a good thing. Have a good night, Jay. Do you have a first aid ticket? No. SAP, yeah. Are you a fan of their work? All you need is to get some interview coaching. It's amazing how things can be spined. Make sure you include your YouTube channel in your experience. Yeah, I've got a lot of hours of video. Yeah. Okay, I'm officially calling out the 5 viewers that have not hit like. Now it's 7. Cheech and Chong, what if they are just doing research? Well, the library is required to block certain things for minors. If they were to come in with their parent and sit at an adult computer, then they could search whatever the heck they wanted within reason. Um, yeah, I don't know. If they like playing games, then introduce them to Unreal Game Engine. I'm afraid the computers at the library are not really up to that task. I've already trained my granddaughter to hit like of videos she spends time watching. Very good. I leave off the funeral videos where you share your YouTube channel in your interview. Yeah, well, you know. They play guitar. Oh. All I can do is guess at this point. Is it Mark Knopfler? Or Knopfler? I forget how you pronounce his last name. I know it's not Jimmy Page. He was born in January. Hmm. I'm really drawing a blank. All right. So, any other questions coming at me tonight? Joe, you've been kind of quiet for a while. You're normally rapid fire with the questions. Lives in Birmingham. Plays guitar. Lives in Birmingham. I don't know if they still live in Birmingham. Uh, it's not Tony Iommi or Geezer Butler, is it? I know the Black Sabbath guys are from Birmingham. Must be a Beatle. I'm here letting others have some airtime. Choose. Let's go with Tony Iommi. That's the best I've got. I'm sure there are other bands from Birmingham that if I just did a Google search I could figure out, but off the top of my head, um, Oh, it is Tony Iommi. Wow. Be careful. Someone like me breathes in all the air. Oh boy. Um, all right. So um, we've got about 8 minutes or so left to hit our 2 hour mark. Um, I hope something I covered tonight was interesting. Um, Thus the title, Something Interesting Sunday. Um, if I hadn't let myself get derailed by my own curiosity on the metasploitable question tonight, then I probably would have had a few more things to talk about. Have a good night, my sea prince. Glad to have you back. Um, Always interesting. Well, I try. I don't always find my own topics interesting, but I try to I try to put myself in the shoes of somebody who's just learning some of this stuff, and um, it's encouraging when I read through some of the comments I get, and some little video that I made that I thought was just a throwaway help somebody with some issue that they'd been encountering for a period of time. And I don't know, I guess it just feels good to me. But um, I've had several people comment to me, I think one or two in a chat, and several privately, that I really have that teacher mindset a lot of the time, and I've never thought of myself in that context. In large part because when I was teaching, it was at a private vocational college, which has now gone under. And I for a period I was looking at teaching at like a community college level, but again, that's where certifications would have to come back in, because in order to teach some of those classes at the community college level, you have to have the certification for the class you're going to be teaching. So A plus, Net plus, Security plus, potentially Linux plus. And so, yeah, I guess with that all in mind, I'm just debating the best way forward, and um, I really need to get to the point of making a decision soon, and start working towards the goal. Um, but I don't know. I guess I've been preoccupied this week with my father taking a fall, and all that kind of stuff, and um, I don't know. It's just one of those situations where um, I know I need to make a change. Um, it's just the timeline that eludes me at this point. um, Good. Better to be in the very high than the dangerously high range. Okay, it's time for me to pass through the exit turnstiles as well. Have a good night, David. And David. Yeah, so he went to the doctor after the fall. He was on his way into church. I think this was Wednesday. And he took a fall going up the steps. The caretaker or groundskeeper, whatever, found him, helped him up. He had a cut over his eye or on his forehead. Um, he admitted to me that he may have blacked out for a minute, but they got him into the church building. He sat through they cleaned him up. He sat through the service, and he noticed that he was having more pain on his left side, which is the side he landed on. And so he went to the doctor after that. And initially, they thought he had 2 broken ribs. Um, and but he got a call back later that day, and they said that the radiologist took a second look at the x-ray and that it looked like it was arthritis on his ribs and not a fracture. So he probably just bruised everything real nice. Ended up with a black eye, which he told me today is starting to reside. But it's still enough to be a bit of a wake-up call. And so I put some information out on the group chat I've got with my siblings, or 2 of my siblings. The other one I don't talk to. And if the sibling that does talk to him wants to inform him, that's his business and not mine. So anyway, that's what's been going on there. Church, well, there's his problem. Yep, you got it. That was my thought, especially since it was kind of a nasty morning here in our area in Michigan, and I would have probably advised him to just stay at home. But old people and how there's this tendency for older people to get more religious. So more power to them. I've been told so many times I'm going to burn, it's not even funny. So I don't even bother anymore. And you see my devil horns. So the next time I step foot in a Catholic church is probably going to be for my father's funeral. That's that. So anyways, as Jerry Garcia would say, a friend of the devil is a friend of mine. Of course, he also said, "What a long, strange trip it's been." But you got to just keep on trucking, right? Yeah. Catholic schoolboy here turned me off. Oh, Joe. We've got to get on a private chat and trade stories then. Because it sounds like we've got some similar background. uh, yeah, I remember in 3rd grade for Christmas. 3rd grade was my first year at Catholic school. I got one of those credit card size solar calculators for Christmas that year. And I thought it was a big deal, you know. But of course, you know, in her infinite wisdom, my third grade teacher was having nothing to do with us using calculators, and he even went so far. And a former classmate of mine and I joked about this probably a year ago. Um, you know, she asked us one day, "What do you think you're going to be carrying a calculator around in your pocket at all times?" What's this? It's a calculator. It's a uh, iPod. It's a movie player. It's a library. It's all in your pocket. Yeah. Guess I've got the last laugh on that one, Mrs. Schraben. Wench. Um, you haven't lived until you've had a nun scream in your face. Uh-huh. It can even be a teacher. Yep. Um, yeah. And to think of all the torture they put us through with cursive writing, and now they don't even teach it in schools. What a difference a couple of generations makes. Wench, ha 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 ha. Actually, I laughed out loud. I try. I figure a good chunk of people have left, and so I can let loose just a little bit. We're past the 2 hour mark. So I don't know. I'm definitely looking to make a change this year, or by this time next year, anyways. Um, we'll see what happens. I know I have been assured by so many people that my skill set is worth more than I'm being paid right now, that um, I'm starting to actually believe it myself. um, so yeah, um, I'd love to be able to make what I was making in shoot, what was that? 2013 and 14, working two jobs, but only working one job to make that much money. Um, Working two jobs, I had more money than time to spend it, um, or to enjoy life for that matter, because I was always working, whether it was in the day job or um, teaching at night and then grading papers on the weekends. So, you know, no way to have a life there. But um, yeah, seriously, on cursive, we used to have to write lines in our notebook as homework. Uh huh. It's, oh, I don't even know anymore. But it's been over 2 hours. I appreciate everybody hanging around for as long as y'all have. We've still got 7 people watching. Thank you all for being here. Um, and hopefully, everybody saw my community post today. I did post of a schedule change. So my Friday night live stream is being moved to a Saturday afternoon live stream, at least for the next few weeks, just to see if more people show up. But I can say that the live stream yesterday was a success. And there have been 77 views of that video since it was live. And it's gained me one new subscriber. Oh, I take that back. It's 101 views and one subscriber. So that is growing faster than the majority of my live streams after the fact, which I'll take. I think I had a pretty good topic for that stream, which I don't always have, but it is what it is. I don't always have the time to put into planning the live streams that I put into the one I did yesterday, I guess I'll say. You are for sure way underpaid, and you are very talented. I'm still trying to convince myself of that. Again, that whole imposter syndrome thing that I mentioned earlier. I am working on a job for you. I won't make you drive a hearse either. I like Saturdays. Okay, well, it may or may not be a permanent change. I don't know. And for that matter, just to space things out, it may get things may get changed just a little bit in the future. So I'm not doing streams 2 days in a row. So I might do Wednesday, Saturday, Monday or something. And then at least I've got a couple of days that I'm not streaming so I can actually record some videos in the evenings. you know, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about things going forward for YouTube. I've got some good ideas and some things that I know I need to work on. I'm still not going to be making any award-winning thumbnails at this point, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to spend a little more time learning Canva in a little bit more depth, which of course entails learning a little bit more about graphic design. I'm going to say it's going to be enough to be dangerous and probably not much past that, but if I can at least be self-sufficient on my thumbnails, I would be relatively happy. So on that note, we're almost at 2 hours and 11 minutes. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Have a good night. Thank you for watching and participating. Please spread the word if you know anybody that would like the channel. Or if people want to be guests on the channel and talk about something in particular. And I'll throw this out again. If anybody has contact information for Bob Carpenter, I would love to get in contact with the guy. I have questions. You're rocking YouTube lately. Well, I'm trying. Yeah. On that note, everybody have a good night, and I will see you on Wednesday.